everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. You're watching Believe. We're a conscious media company. We focus on bringing you stories around money and business, health and wellness, true success, our universe, and world news. Of course, Claudia, as well as myself, we work very hard here trying to bring you guys the truth, getting you guys closer to success, and just really, really hashing out all the craziness, right?
Yes,
it can be crazy,
and
but we want to have fun.
Yeah, we definitely want to have fun, Vanessa. And not only that, today we have a special guest, and I want you to do the introduction, Vanessa, because it's so interesting. I'm so excited about him.
We have John DeSouza. He is a former FBI Special Agent, actually, an agent investigator, which I would love to know more about that. Yeah. He's the author as well, right? He's appeared on shows Coast to Coast, Spaced Out Radio, Paranormal U, many more. He's actually just recently, he was a guest speaker for Dining with the Dead, hosted by the Tuscan Ghost Society.
Wow.
And he is really, really phenomenal. He is. He's done a lot of stuff with paranormal stuff, supernatural stuff. I'm really going to get into just all of the stuff that he has witnessed in his lifetime.
Yes, because you know what? He's an author, as you know, Vanessa, of wonderful books, and is the Extra Dimensionals, True Tales, and Concepts of Alien Visitors. That's going to be an interesting book to talk about. And then also the Para Investigators, okay? True Tales of Concepts and Supernaturally Gifted Investigators. Wow. We'll talk about that later.
Very cool. And you can check all that out on his website, right? JohnTamabooks.com. Let's bring him on now.
Yes.
Let's see what's going on, John.
How are you doing?
Hello, Vanessa.
Hi.
Hello, Claudia. Great to see you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. All right.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's awesome to be
How are
here
you
with
doing
you guys.
today?
How are you doing? Good?
I am doing great. I am so happy to be here and be able to discuss some of these esoteric topics that are so important to be recognized today and to understand the real importance that they have in today's world, where we're being distracted by so many things that really aren't important.
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually noticed the FBI plaque there behind you.
In the background.
I wanted to know, what exactly does an FBI Special Agent Investigator do?
Well, they can do many things. There are many areas that FBI is best at when they're focused on those areas. But what I did during my career was mostly high-profile terrorism investigations. I did 93 World Trade Center bombing when the World Trade Centers were bombed the first time. And then big cases like the Unabomber, who was a very successful terrorist who blew up people for a very long time in their homes and offices. Many different areas of terrorism cases. I also did violent crime cases, dealt with serial killers and things of that sort. Some of the stuff that I did, a good portion of stuff, of course, was secret. It was part of national security, of a secret nature that can't be discussed sometimes. But most of the stuff was in the public arena. It was high-profile stuff that would end up in the public arena, in the court system, and so that always becomes public and is in the newspapers and is very well known, like 9/11 when that happened. So that sort of stuff can always be talked about because it's all over the media anyway.
Right. Wow. So when you first started working with the FBI, you weren't aware that you would be collecting these X-Files later on in life?
Oh no, that was something I became aware of as time went on. And yeah, as I was working these normal conventional cases in the FBI, I started becoming aware that a lot of things were not as we were being told. I became aware, sometimes through unofficial sources and unofficial leads, that there were things happening that were not out in the open, that were not exposed to the real world. And so and many of these things were not even publicly acknowledged to exist. And so I started to collect a lot of these things and started to put them together. And that's when, and so that when I left the FBI, I was able to write my book, The Para Investigators, which is, true tales and concepts of supernaturally gifted investigators, collecting not just my experiences, but those of many others in law enforcement, showing paranormal happenings.
Wow, how interesting. But when was your first experience? I mean, with this paranormal, when did you come across having this paranormal experience during your FBI investigations and so forth? I know about the Indigo Children also in your videos.
Yes, well, that was probably the most the most shocking experience of the paranormal during my law enforcement career, not just for me, but for many other law enforcement officers, was when we had the Indigo kids of 9/11 that occurred, which was basically young kids all over the country. When, as soon as 9/11 happened, we had these these campaigns asking people to report in anything that could be related to terrorism, because they were, of course, trying to still get clues and solve what had happened in 9/11. And so there was this call that went out to people, and people reported all kinds of stuff. I mean, people reported amazingly non-important things, but everything had to be followed up, every single thing, by FBI agents and regular police officers who were on these task forces for this purpose. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that were reported in were these very young kids all over the country who were having visions and impressions of what happened on 9/11 in the days just before it happened. Wow. And they were not reported by their parents, of course, but they were reported by caretakers, babysitters, wow, school bus drivers, teachers, things like that. And they were reported because people just said, got to report it just in case it has any connection to terrorism. And so we had, little young boys as young as 7 or 8 who were doing finger paintings in class, who showed the teacher their painting, and the teacher, and this was just in the days before 9/11 happened, and the teacher would look at the paintings and say, oh, wow, these are beautiful, tall buildings that they're glowing, and it looks like angels flying out of this building. Mm-hmm. And the little boy would say to the teacher, those buildings aren't glowing, those 2 tall buildings are on fire. And those aren't angels flying out. Those are people on fire, and they're falling out of the buildings.
Wow.
And a teacher would walk away from that child, not think more about it. But then when 9/11 happened, and that big campaign goes forward to tell people, you gotta call in anything at all. And people did call these kids. They called them in. And people, FBI agents and police officers, had to go interview these kids and talk to them and find out if their families could possibly have any connection to terrorism whatsoever. And it had to be checked out. Wow. And that happened, those cases happened in the dozens all over the country. It was a very common thing.
Wow. So it was through these cases that you found maybe that voice inside
calling?
of you. That calling, yes, that made you go towards more extraterrestrial or paranormal research. Is that yes, how that happened?
Yes, well, that was one of the cases, but I also had my own experiences of the paranormal even before I joined the FBI. I had experiences of UFO observation when I was a little kid. I was about 10 years old in New York City, as a matter of fact. when I was little, and I had a experience of going into the city for some kind of a party with my parents, and there was a massive party in a rented hall. It was like a wedding reception, I believe, and there were many hundreds and hundreds of people there. And me and a bunch of other little kids found each other. We left the hall. It was about 1 a.m, and we had all been up past our bedtime. We went out into the streets and we were playing. It was late night, very starry night. And I went out into the night with these kids. One of the kids, we were playing tag. We were very spirited. One of the kids hit me in the stomach, and I went down on the sidewalk, and one of the kids said, "He's hurt." So they all ran away and ran back to the building. And I was left out there staring up, again, between two tall buildings. And I was just staring up, and there was a dark spot in the sky, and it ended up being a black cloud, like a black cloud. And out of the bottom of this cloud came spotlights.
Oh my goodness.
And these spotlights came out, and I saw them, and I saw a flying saucer come out the bottom of this cloud, and it came towards me. And it hit me with that greenish, sort of bluish spotlight that went through me, and I just kept looking at it. Two girls appeared on my left, two teenage girls, and they were just hugging each other and screaming. One of them shouted at me, "Little boy, you better run home. World might be ending." And so at that moment, it was like me and the UFO changed our mind at the same moment. I took a step back out of the spotlight, and the thing reversed course and started going back up. And then it went back up there, and it, like a cartoon character, it jumps in a hole, pulls the hole in after it. It just went up in the cloud, and the cloud was gone.
Oh my God.
And that was it. I ran back to my parents at the festival, at the party there, and tried to tell them there. And my mom told me I had to wait till I got home because I can't talk about those things in front of people. Wow. I learned real fast.
How old were you? How old were you, John?
I was 10
years old?
About 10 years
Wow.
old, roughly, yeah.